Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It is time again as we broadcast live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Charlie using other side of the glass. Thanks for tuning in here on a Thursday, almost to the weekend. Yes, we are. We are so close to the weekend. A fun show planned for you coming up today, right away at 2:20. We will talk with Frank Madden of the Locked On Bucks podcast, and looking forward to getting his thoughts on where we are right now with this Milwaukee Bucks team. He'll join us in about 20 minutes. Also, Easton Butler, writer, insider for Packer Report. He joins us coming up at 3 o'clock. He's got all kinds of juicy information out there about potential Packer free agents and where they may be headed and what the Packers may be interested in. And the draft, he's got all kinds of draft visits and all this other stuff set up too, and who the Packers have met with. So definitely want to stay tuned for that coming up at 3 o'clock. And Cooper Pratt, Brewers shortstop prospect that Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz from Spring Training Live were able to talk to this morning. We'll play that back for you coming up at 4:20 here from Cooper Pratt, Brewers shortstop, who we all believe will start the year at AAA Nashville. And, of course, Spring Training Live tonight, still from 5 until 7 o'clock coming up tonight, featuring Jacob Mizorowski. The Miz sits down and talks with Tim and Tommy. You'll hear from The Miz again tonight from 5 to 7 with the franchise and Tommy Wirtz. We're going to start off talking about the Green Bay Packers and Xavier McKinney, who, according to reports, has restructured his deal to help the Packers save right around $9 million in cap space, which is nice because that should get them under the cap and so forth. Now, there is still room or still time for them to do some other restructures if they so choose at this point. Now, the guys that they essentially could restructure: Aaron Banks, Rashawn Gary, Jordan Love, Nate Hobbs, Josh Jacobs, Zach Tom. All possibilities that the Packers could go to have restructured their deals to free up even more money going forward. They also, as we've talked about before, could clear up $19 million off of their salary cap by simply releasing or trading Elton Jenkins, which we've talked about as well. So with the idea of Rashawn Gary or Elton Jenkins being out there, but then the idea of restructuring versus releasing, say, a Rashawn Gary or potentially an Aaron Banks, I still think that's highly unlikely. But Banks, you could restructure. Gary, you could restructure and keep him. Jordan Love, you could restructure to free up some more room. Hobbs, Jacobs, and Zach Tom. Is there anyone that you'd like to see get restructured rather than either moved on from or, letting their deal essentially play out? Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250 are the phone numbers. Zach Cruz had a great piece from Packers Wire. It says the Packers will almost certainly rip up, release, restructure, or reduce Gary's contract at some point this offseason. His $28 million cap number does not work based on his production in 25. The same goes for Jenkins, who is likely gone after this last season. Some combination of moves involving Gary and Jenkins is likely to do the rest of the heavy lifting for the Packers salary cap after McKinney's max void restructure, but the Packers could do more if an aggressive move or two as anticipated in free agency. Per over the cap, the Packers were roughly $5 million over the cap before McKinney's restructure. They will be cap compliant once McKinney's restructure is officially on the books. From there, pulling of additional salary cap levers will allow the Packers' offseason plan to come into focus. When we talk about restructures and the money saved, essentially, Aaron Banks, 10.6. Rashawn Gary could be 8.3. Jordan Love, 7.3. Hobbs, 4.5. Jacobs, 4.5. And Zach Tom, 2.7. we're talking about just simple restructures of contracts. That's quite a bit of money. I mean, I'm not a wizard necessarily as far as money goes, but that's could be an additional $35 million in cap space, 35 to 36, $37 million in cap space that they could free up if they wanted to by just restructuring. That's without cutting Elton Jenkins. That's with keeping Rashawn Gary. Then all of a sudden, you could potentially have a conversation about going and getting somebody that is at the top end of the food chain. Nobody saw the Micah Parsons deal coming last year. I read an article today, I kid you not, that had the Packers listed as one of 4 teams that potentially could be in play for Max Crosby on the trade market. Now, I just laughed and said, there's no way. Why in the world would they get involved there? They've got already a ton of money involved in Micah Parsons. And then you start having this conversation with yourself. Does it make sense to spend a boat ton of money on 2 pass rushing specialists and sacrifice money at cornerback, sacrifice money essentially at linebacker, sacrifice money at wide receivers for good going forward? Does that make more sense than spreading that money out a little bit more? The Lions are another team I've seen out there being connected to Crosby or Hutchinson, and not Hutchinson, Hendrickson, to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. So again, it would be another scenario where you would have 2 guys that get after the quarterback that you would spend a ton of money on to ensure that you get to the quarterback. I think it's a hell of a good conversation because you have the Bears who have Montez Sweat. With all due respect, he's not Micah Parsons. I don't think he's Aiden Hutchinson either at this point. But they're trying to find him a second guy who's going to be far more expensive than he is at this point. Question is this. Is there anyone else that you would like to see get restructured rather than moving on? From Nicolay Law Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Your thoughts, Charlie Use it.
I think it's too early to restructure Zach Tom and his contract. I think the season that he had last year was marred by injuries. He played as hard as he could and tried to stay on the field to prove that he deserved that extension that he got. I think you have to give him at least one more year of being on that contract. Outside of him, all those other guys that we were talking about there, maybe Aaron Banks is the last guy that I would think about restructuring a little bit.
Well, that could be 10, according to Zach Cruz, that's a $10.6 million
right.
clearing of money if you were to do it for Banks.
But at the same time, again, it's you've had 1 year of him, and I think you want to see what can progress if you give him another year there. Everybody else outside of like Jordan Love, in my mind, should be cut candidates. I think Jordan Love is a guy that you can maybe restructure a little bit. He's on that deal for over the year now. And I think at this point, he's a player that, looking at the other guys around him that are getting paid similar amount of monies, those guys are getting cut. Those guys are getting restructured as well. The season that he had last year was good, but it wasn't the huge step forward that we were expecting. I think you could try to work with him and restructure a little bit, pull that Tom Brady type of deal, because Tom Brady did that all the time to restructure around the team so that they could help retool every single year around him. Everybody else that we're talking about there, I'd rather just cut than bother restructuring. Nate Hobbs, cut him. Like that was not worth the experiment last year.
But he was hurt too throughout the
year.
Zach
Tom was.
You give one guy a pass.
Zach Tom was on the team before and proved with this team that he was able to be that position player and earn that contract with that team through his play with the Packers.
Fine, I agree with you on Zach Tom, but Aaron Banks was beat up. He was hurt. Hobbs was beat up. He was hurt. So we cut bait with both of them after a year because they were hurt?
Well, Aaron Banks, again, was on the field in the second half of the season and played decently well in the second half of the season.
Yeah, true.
Nate Hobbs was never on the field, and when he was on the field was basically a zero factor the entire time he was on the field.
Yep.
Their state of play last season was different. Even if they both didn't play a lot or barely at all, Aaron Banks at least gave you some kind of positive at points. Nate Hobbs felt like he was just out there, and in the group that was by far the most disappointing group of the team last year, especially when Micah Parsons went down, that shines even more. And because of that, he's the guy that gets cut, even though him and Aaron Banks probably had pretty similar seasons playing time-wise.
From the 414 on the Nicolay La Target text line, cut Aaron Banks and move Elton Jenkins back to guard. Charlie, move Elton Jenkins back to guard. Now, again, we know he's a really, really good guard. So if you're going to do that, you're going to have to do finagling with Jenkins' contract because the salary cap number is way too big. So if you cut Banks and then Jenkins slides back over to guard, you're still going to need a center. And is Jenkins better than Banks at guard? And I believe the reason you got Banks at guard was because you wanted to be bigger on the offensive line. So you're kind of reversing course to a certain degree to go back to Elton Jenkins.
Well, and is Elton Jenkins going to need a retread period time? Is he going to need time to get back into that guard position and be good at that guard position? Is he just going to get hurt again once you move him back there? And if he's doing something a little different than what he was doing at center and that gets him back on the IL, is that something worthwhile to you at this point? I think, again, if you're going to make changes on this group, you want to make as few changes as possible. You want to try to keep this consistency. You're already making a change at left tackle. Looks like Rasheed Walker's gone. Jordan Morgan's going to be there. I think at left guard, at right tackle, because you need to find a new center at those positions, you want to try to stay as consistent as possible. Making another change just keeps you away from that consistency.
Aaron Banks, you can restructure, come up with about $10.5 million in additional salary cap space. If you cut Aaron Banks, you only clear up about $4 million.
So if you're going to do anything, it has to be a restructure.
Makes more sense than straight up cutting Aaron Banks. Now, having said that, what if, young Charlie? Because right now, the left side is Morgan and Banks. The right side is Belton and Zach Tom on the right side. And you have no center if you move on from Elton Jenkins. And as I've said before, I would much rather keep Elton Jenkins versus going out on the open market and trying to figure something else out. But you have to redo that deal, I would think, at this point, or come up with something else to bring that salary cap number down to make it make more sense for the Green Bay Packers at this point. And the problem is he's in the last year of his deal. So you can't even restructure and move years. You would essentially have to extend him and then move the money that way through an extension to change that number for 26, where Banks has 3 years left. You can easily restructure and move money. McKinney's got years left. You can restructure and move money. Jacobs has a couple of years. You can restructure and move money. You're stuck with Elton Jenkins.
Especially if you don't want him to go to one of your two other rivals in the division, the Bears are looking for center and the Detroit Lions who are looking for a center. Both those teams had a lot of bad luck last season. Detroit tried to bring in Frank Ragnow before the season ended so that they could have somebody at center. That didn't work out well for them. And the Bears just lost Drew Dahlman, their all-pro center from last season.
A report out today that they're interested in the Ravens center now. But they're going to try and go get the best center on the market and spend top dollar to make him the highest paid center in the league.
The Ravens should move back to Cleveland if they let Tyler Linderbaum walk out of that building. He wants to be there.
The GM said they were going to make
him the highest paid. Like, just do it. I don't know why they haven't at this point.
920 JB in the 920. Hobbs never got his feet under him. He doesn't get a full pass, but that dude would have been better if he could have had 6 consecutive weeks healthy. I agree. But this is the problem with Nate Hobbs, which we knew
before he even touched the field.
They signed him. He is a nickelback. He does what Butler does. He's not a boundary corner. And when they signed him, they talked about they think he could play the boundary. But realistically, that's not his best position. Now, if you go, okay, fine, well then take Bullard off and put him there. I'm not overly convinced Bullard is a good safety. And even if he is a good safety, he's not taking out Evan Williams at his position, and he's certainly not taking out Xavier McKinney. So now Javon Bullard, a relatively high draft pick, is now not on the football field.
Which wouldn't make sense because he ended the season really well for this Packers team. He was one of the few bright spots of that cornerback room by the end of the year. You have to keep allowing these players to build on these successes that they have. And that's what has made the Packers so successful, is that they give chances to these guys like Bullard, like Evan Williams, and they continue to build and work on that. You can't just give up on that.
He is Charlie Usitz, C. Sparky Fifer with you. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Coming up next, Frank Madden, Locked On Bucks podcast. He and I are going to have a discussion about this Milwaukee Bucks team, Doc Rivers' future of this Milwaukee Bucks team, and really, what is the talent level really like on this roster? I heard Rami and Brandon going back and forth on 9 to Noon with Kuhn, brought to you by Yingling, earlier today about just how good the talent is on this roster. I want to get Frank's takes because Frank, like I am, we're both old. We both watch a lot of bad Bucks basketball. So we'll ask Frank that question straight ahead here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily with you. See Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie User. I'm going to say something that I never thought I would ever say. I can't wait for this Buck season to be over. I'm so done. Like, as soon as we can be done talking about this stupid team, I will be much happier. I just will. I'll be much happier. Just so sick of talking about these guys. Frank Madden, Locked On Bucks. He joins us now. I'm on X, F Madden, NBA. Are you with me? Are you about had your fill of watching this team?
Well, Sparky, I did tweet last night that I would prefer that they just do sim to end on this season. Not just last night's game. But yeah, I mean, it's been a slog, and you know how NBA seasons are. They're long. You know, you get highs, you get lows. I figured they would have some sort of bounce back after what seemed like the low point with like the Denver loss and Giannis getting hurt. And they had a little bit of a bounce back, but I think Bobby Portis probably said it best when it said he was kind of fool's gold. Probably they didn't play defense during that stretch either, and now they can't score points. So yeah, I mean, again, like I think you look at the standings. I hate to say must-win games in an 82-game season, but last night felt like that's pretty much a must-win game if there was going to be one for this season. And I just don't know how they come back to do anything meaningful in the rest of the over 20 games or whatever they have left. So yeah, the question, Sparky, is: are you looking forward to the summer? Because I think the only thing maybe worse than the rest of this season is going to be the dialogue around this team in the summer. But I don't know. At least it'll be different from having to watch the basketball.
This is the thing. Jang gets traded for, balls out for 2 games prior to the break. You come out of the break, Kuzma's healthy. Jang now goes to the bench, doesn't get the run, doesn't have the confidence when they just said, just go play, dude. We got nobody else. You're going to have to play. Just go figure it out. Kuzma plays well, no doubt. Now Giannis comes back, and now Jang gets inserted back into the lineup. It's like, oh, okay, I guess, fine. We'll see how this goes. And then last night during the broadcast, it is brought up that Jang and Giannis have been playing together in 3-on-3s during Giannis's rehab, and they've been running together in these 3-on-3 matchups, trying to get Giannis back up to speed again. You talk about the summer and how this all works. Call me crazy. I think this is a guy that Giannis may really, really like, and I would not be surprised if we see Jang and Giannis together in the summer. And this is one of the dudes that Giannis is going to be like, yeah, well, if I'm staying, you better make sure he's here too at this point. And he has shown you flashes that he might be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, first off, he's legitimately small forward size, probably a little bit bigger than your typical small forward, which, I mean, who would have thought that, last summer that Taurean Prince would look like such a big piece to lose. But as soon as he went down, you looked around and you said, boy, they do not have small forward sized guys on this roster, which obviously is why Kuzma suddenly became, so important to that position, which, is this double-edged sword for a number of reasons, right? We could spend an hour discussing Kyle Kuzma and what he means and doesn't mean. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think if you ask me, like, what am I most interested in seeing from this team over the last, 20 games, I think probably Jang is the first guy that comes to mind. Rollins obviously is the other, probably the number one breakout, story of the season in a good way for this team. But, we've obviously kind of known about him now for a while. So I don't think we need to see, he doesn't have to prove as much, although, I mean, I think everybody has something to prove coming into a summer where, I mean, who's untouchable on this roster going into the summer, right?
Giannis, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in the, like, I want to keep Giannis period camp. I realize there's rational arguments against that. I think there's rational arguments for that, and I think there's also obviously just kind of the fundamental, like, Giannis is the greatest player in the franchise history. You try to keep those guys. He's still a top X player in the league. You try to keep those guys.
No, Frank, don't overthink this. No. You're old like me. Your gray hair shows that you're like old like I am. We both watched crappy basketball for a majority of our lives in this organization. We did. I don't want to go through that for as long as possible. Now, what they should have done, which they didn't do, which is sell off every person on this team for a G League player and a second-round pick at the deadline, said, you want to come back and play with this crap, Giannis? You feel free. But we're getting rid of all of this. We're going to try and get you a star to play with in the summertime, and that's how we're going to operate. Instead, whatever you want, Giannis, whatever you say, Giannis, okay. And now, like everything else, we're half in, half out. We want to try and play to win, but at the same point, are we really trying to play to win? Because Doc Rivers, this is what I think. I don't think Doc Rivers, John Horst, Wesley Edens, and Giannis, I don't think they're all on the same page with how this is supposed to look. I don't, because there has not appeared to be a clear vision of what the hell they're trying to do at any point this year.
No, I mean, I think you go back to even the early stages of the season when they obviously had some success. I think you look at that and you say, like, what was the identity of the team that started, 3-1 or whatever, right? And you saw very early on the outlines of the problems that have followed them all year, which is they have a bunch of shooters, and they have Giannis, but they don't play fast. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They don't defend or rebound with any real conviction. On offense, they basically just, basically Doc, is one of these guys who has for years just said, like, we're just going to get back on defense. We're not going to try to offensive rebound.
Right.
When the rest of the league has basically realized that, like, oh, actually extra possessions are important. So it's just a team. And of course, like, there's, shared blame with the front office, right? It's not like Doc got a championship caliber roster, going into the season, but when you're not even in the top 10 in the East, the bar is extremely, the bar has become extremely low as we were sort of, having these discussions about, like, oh, maybe they can get into play in, maybe they can get, ninth, eighth. I mean, I think we all realize how crushingly low the bar had fallen on this team over the course of this season and over the last year, with those conversations. And for now it to seem like you can't even get there. I mean, clearly, like, Doc doesn't know what to do with these guys. And I'm sure, I mean, that's to me, honestly, the and not to, take joy in other people's, misfortunes. But I mean, if we get one benefit of the team, like, really just sort of throwing in the towel and circling the drain here in this period where they really needed wins, it's like, I mean, if they miss the playoffs, like, Jimmy Haslam can't really say that he wants to bring Doc Rivers back.
No, you're going to worry about
like,
that. Stephen
like,
A. Smith yesterday. Stephen A. Smith yesterday. I don't know if you saw this or not. Do you have the audio of that, Charlie? Stephen A. Smith yesterday on Sirius XM said that somebody asked him on his radio show about Ja Morant. And, man, I hope he gets to Milwaukee to play under a real coach like Doc Rivers, and maybe that'll help him go in the right direction. And Stephen A. cut him off and said, Doc's done. He's retiring after this year. He's coached a long time. He's done after this year. So Stephen A. is saying he knows, whether it's through Doc or whoever, that Doc plans on retiring. And with all due respect to that makes a lot of sense, especially if Doc is of the understanding that Giannis is probably not going to be here next year, because there's no chance Doc Rivers is going through a rebuild. And if there was a chance where it was going to be Giannis and two-star players, I think Doc probably stays and he says, yeah, okay, let's go try and win a ring together. And I got some vets and I'm going to go deal with the mess that I had to deal with all this year. To me, it's just another indicator and clue potentially that there may be some more rough waters ahead for Giannis before this whole thing is said and done.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what he's said or no matter what rumors we've heard, I mean, everything fundamentally came down to if he went into the summer as a Buck, what does he say about the inevitable extension that would presumably be offered him in October? And to me, that dictates everything, right? There's never been anybody who's turned down, the order of magnitude dollars that we're talking about. We're talking, we're not talking about turning down like, $100 million, $200 million. I mean, we're talking about upwards of $250 million plus on a new extension. And part of the reason he signed the old extension when he did was because he said, well, then I can get the next one. They did the math on the timelines. And of course,
that could be almost $80 million a year. Is that what it comes out to be?
I think it's a little less than that, but regardless, it's an insane amount of money. And like Giannis is not at the point of his career where he's talking about taking discounts to go to a team that he likes. He's going to get a lot of money regardless. He of course can wait and opt out of his contract and become a free agent, a year from now. But, I mean, geez, the injuries he had this year, what he saw with Dame, like, I'm sure he is realizing his own mortality as well. And to get money locked up, even if he eventually could foresee himself leaving Milwaukee, there's obviously a strong reason to do that.
Let me ask you this. Frank Madden, Locked On Bucks, joining us here. Wisconsin Sports Daily. Joins us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call that's, I don't think I've heard anybody bring this up, but what if he signs the Supermax in October? Could he then demand a trade? Essentially, after one summer, have all of his money guaranteed money locked up. Then it doesn't really matter where he goes necessarily at that point. But with that even being said, that would be a really difficult deal to take coming back the other way if a team wanted to trade for him at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamics really change, right? I mean, obviously, anybody that would have traded for him at the deadline or this summer, implicitly, you are signing up to give him that type of money on his next deal. That said, I mean, what you're getting at is, I think, correct, which is, Giannis at 31 now, next December, he's 32. The math of that contract changes every year, and obviously not in a favorable way. And I think that's always been the best argument for people saying, like, well, you should try to trade him now, right? Which, I think the deals between the deadline and this summer, I think, could be better just because of the details of, like, available draft picks and just the flexibility teams have in the summer versus during the season. But certainly, like, yeah, I mean, what they could offer this summer is almost certainly going to be worse than what they could have gotten a year ago. But that's the reality of, playing this game and trying to keep this level of superstar and a guy that has meant this much to this team and a guy who obviously, has been at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. So, look, we'll see what he does. I mean, I won't pretend to know what Giannis will do next. We know, I'm sure whatever decision he makes, if he stays or if he actually communicates that he want to leave, I'm sure he will not take that decision lightly. But I've always, last summer I said basically I thought it was 60-40 he was going to stay. I don't know where I put the number now. Maybe it's a coin flip. I don't know. But I'm sure it's been, a humbling, sobering season. And, I'm sure he's going to have to think about what he wants and how much getting that next contract is worth.
Yeah, well,
and I guess to answer your question, though, I mean, it's certainly possible if the Bucks are terrible and disappointing, I'm sure it's possible he could go to the team and say, like, hey, let's explore something. And I think the Bucks would certainly, like, I don't think they would, keep him imprisoned here or something just because of his contract, but his threat, obviously, what are you going to do? It's a lot stronger right now when he's essentially going to be an expiring contract next year versus, if he had 4 years left on his deal.
How good is the talent level on this roster? On 9 to Noon earlier with John Kuhn. Kuhn was off today, so it was Rami Makaloff and Brandon Snide going back and forth about how good the talent level is on this roster. I mean, with all due respect to everybody involved, I don't think it's all that great necessarily at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you look at it, with kind of clear eyes, I think there's probably two questions. I think there's one is like raw talent level and also like winning talent. I think they have a number of guys who are very talented who, because of age or maturity or, because they're Kyle Kuzma, may not necessarily contribute in a, greater than the sum of their parts sort of way to winning. And so I think that's kind of the problem. I mean, we obviously hinted at like the fit issues they've had, like why Jang is playing in the first place is, because of the fact that they did not have sufficient wing depth coming into the season. And they had, basically a bunch of 6'4" guards. And they went out and added Cam Thomas, who's another 6'4" guard, right after the trade deadline. So I think it's, an imbalanced team. And I think obviously, there's some fundamental challenges to it. Just like, like Jericho Sims, I'm never been a big Jericho Sims like believer in the sense of him being like a rotation guy, but he's played very well over the last.
Charlie Usen, my producer, is the only Jericho, one that's been in the Jericho Sims fan club. It's a fan club of one, Frank. Yeah. So I'm glad to see it's not a fan club of two. But yes, he's had his moments this year.
He's had his moments, but it's just like, like you can't play Jericho Sims with Giannis. Like maybe, Damian Lillard's your best player. You can play a Jericho Sims or Damian Lillard and Chris Middleton, but those days are gone, and so it's a very different version of the team that you'd have to make Jericho Sims maximize. But, but that kind of just gets to the point of, how many of these guys could be part of a winning team beyond this season, right? I mean, that's what we all want to know, right? If you get if you get the coach that can actually like figure this, how to play basketball in 2026, 2027, et cetera, right? Like I made the comment the other day, like watching that Celtics game was very sobering because look at who's on that Celtics roster, right? They entered the season with their big men being Nemias Keita and Luke Garza. I mean, literally, Boston beat writers were picking them to potentially tank because there was so little depth, especially up front, which isn't to diminish, Jaylen Brown or, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, but like, come on, like, look at, even that Hugo Gonzalez guy. Hugo Gonzalez is averaging 3 points per game. He destroyed the Bucks, but like, they have just a lot of guys who have just bought in. They have a real identity. They shoot a ton of threes. They get offensive rebounds. They play really good defense, and it works. And, Mazzulla, for all his challenges early, he has become a great head coach. And it's like, if Joe Mazzulla had been here for the last year or two and was coaching this team, they're not a play-in team. I think they would have figured something out to be, and again, is a 6 seed good enough, given where we've seen this team over the last 5, 6, 7 years? Arguably not. But certainly, like, could this team under better circumstances have been, a 5 seed, a 6 seed, maybe even a 4 seed? Like, I think there's an argument that could have been possible. But I do think some of the talent, fit, maturity levels, I think it's a valid to kind of criticize that. But if you had a great coach, I think you're in a fundamentally different place. And I think the vibes around the team would be vastly different than they are now. And that's obviously why, it's pretty much unanimous among all of us watching this team that there has to be a coaching change at the latest at the end of the season. Again, does it make a difference at this point? Maybe not. But I get why a lot of people are like sitting around saying like, why? Like, just on general principle, like, let Darvin Ham coach this team the rest of the way, just on general principle.
My goal would be to get rid of 75% of this roster and start over. Just throw it in the tank on all of them. I don't want Miles Turner. You can be done with him. I'm done with Kuzma. I like Bobby Portis, but he's an expiring deal next year, so he can be gone as well. Rollins and KPJ, you don't need both of those guys necessarily. I think KPJ is more talented. So pick your poison on that one. Cam Thomas is a free agent. I don't think he's back. Like I said, I think Jang and Giannis, that makes a lot of sense. AJ Green. I'm sorry. When they signed him to $9 million, I questioned it and said, well, whatever. I said the same thing about Pat Connaughton, and over the course of time, it ended up not being as bad because of how much the salary cap is and everything else. So really, it's not an albatross of a contract one way or the other, but he's not a starter in the NBA. There's no chance. And they're running him out there and starting him. They go at and attack him every time he's on the defensive side of the ball, running at him. Offensively, he's as streaky as Connaughton was. There's just not anything I really like on this basketball team, if we're being honest. Jag shows me flashes. I like Giannis. And other than that, no. So find somebody in the lottery that actually is a legit potential star basketball player. Trade for another star basketball player with all those other picks that you have, and start rebuilding the structure around the rest of this roster. And everybody else, as far as I'm concerned, Frank, they can get rid of.
Well, who they're going to have to pick, right? It's definitely going to have to be a 6'4" guard. That would fate is going to mean we're going to have another 6'4" guard on the roster this summer.
Probably.
But let me ask you this. What would make you consider trading that pick? Or do you feel like I want a young guy with the upside that you'd expect in that spot?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll trade 9 or whatever the number is with 31, 20, 31 pick or whatever else, if I can get in the top 5. Or if I can get up to the top 3 with that pick, a future one, and Rollins or whatever, and get me up into the top 3 to get one of those guys, then I'm in to trade that pick. But I still think you can get a really, really good player, top 10 somewhere in that area. Maybe not superstar like the top 3 or 4, but definitely a really good player. So I have that player. I've got Jang. I've got Giannis. And then figure out how do you get another star player using whatever else you have left in capital-wise to try and convince Giannis. I just don't think you can walk away from this draft not using the best pick choice you've had since what? Couldn't even tell you the last time they were up in the top 10 in the draft. It wasn't DiVincenzo wasn't a top 10 pick. So it's been a long time. You have to make this pick because
Maker.
Yeah, Von Maker.
I think he was 10th.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that was the last time. So
PTSD.
you have to get a star player to build around if Giannis decides I'm out. You have to get that guy in this draft. And that's why I'm fine trading a future one. I'm fine actioning Rollins or whatever else. If I can get up there, I love Acuff myself. I think that dude is unbelievable. But if it's him, if it's, you're not going to get the BYU, he's going one and nobody's trading one. But I mean, if you can get up there and get one of those guys, hell yes, I'm in. Let's go do it. This is about as deep of a draft as we've seen in 20, 30 years? I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen this talented of a draft class, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Drafts are funny, right? I mean, think back, right? I mean, what is before this season, right? What is the low point of recent Bucks history? Probably the end of the 12-13 season, right? When they trade for JJ Redick, they go for, the Herb Cole 8 spot. Everybody's mad, and they end up with Giannis, right, at 15, and then next year they tank and they end up with Jabari Parker, right? I mean, you never know. Kind of obviously, like at the end of the day, your best odds of getting talent are higher up in the draft. So I mean, clearly that's just the reality of how it works. But we'll see. And as you said, this draft on paper looks really good. Some of the drafts that have looked great on paper have turned out to be great. Some of the ones that have been relatively weak have turned out to be pretty good, and vice versa, right? Certainly the Jabari draft, right? Like people thought that draft was going to be incredible, and you look at it and it's like Wiggins and Jabari at top 2, like Dante Exum or whatever, right? Like
I remember that draft, Frank. I remember being on the radio saying, man, they seem kind of similar as far as Jabari and Giannis and that type of stuff, like what position they're going to play, all this. I'm like, I know Embiid's going to fall and all that, but I feel like that might make more sense at this point than what they did. But then Jabari gets here and you're like, man, this dude can score. Like he can go. And then he gets hurt multiple years with his knees and it's over. Like if he stays healthy, I think everything is different at that point.
I was always much more skeptical of what was going on between Jabari's ears than maybe some people. I mean, He was still extremely explosive after all the knee injuries, right? Which, funnily enough, like he wasn't supposed to be a great athlete coming out of the draft, right? And then he ended up, I mean, just his burst, even as a rookie, even though he looked soft, it didn't look like that athletic, but just, I mean, his dunking and everything. I mean, he was really impressive. So, I mean, who knows with Jabari? We don't need to relitigate the Jabari history. All I know, Sparky, if all that was needed, if all that suffering, our 30 plus years of suffering was needed to get to 2021, I'm okay with it. Everything pre-2021, I'm okay with it. We had to go through it. It's fine. We didn't get Embiid. We got Jabari. Fine. Who knows if we get Embiid, if we win a championship. Everything since 2021, very different story. We can second guess the hell out of everything since 2021. And unfortunately,
but I mean, that's the same
example too.
But Frank, that's the same thing. If Giannis doesn't get hurt every damn postseason, how much different is since 21 too? I mean, there's that too. Yeah. Frank, thanks so much for coming on. We went way too long and we have hard breaks and I blew past it for a while now. Frank, thanks so much, my friend. Locked On Bucks podcast. Follow him on X at F Madden NBA. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Marky. Take care.
He joined us there on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Badgers have been making a bunch of hires in the football program, including hiring a guy from Michigan State, and I do not understand why they hired him. We'll talk about that next. Welcome in. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. That's where you're going to want to be. Can you feel it? Thrill of witnessing a walk-off grand slam. Buzzer beat in 3. Sparky, you know the feeling. There's only one place to experience that raw exhilaration. The Potawatomi Sportsbook. It's all the action, supreme space, dozens of sports betting kiosks, including right there after you go on the little, what do you call it, the walkway, whatever, from the parking garage. Skywalk. There you go. Skywalk, right across from Rock and Brews. Whole line of them. You make your bets, your wagers right there. Plus, cool drinks, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails. You got luxury seating, 2 levels, all kinds of different options. You got high top tables. You got like single recliners. They look like recliners, gigantic booths that can hold like 8 people in them, all kinds of different ones. Great food, full menu at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen, all day brunch, homemade pastries and desserts. Great atmosphere and a monster video wall, 2,000 square feet, over 30 sporting events you can see at one time. Only at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, best in the Midwest, per Sparky. More info at Potawatomi.com. Reserve your seats ahead of time. A nominal fee goes towards that, but then it's included in your food and beverage costs. So you're going to spend that money anyhow. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Again, go to Potawatomi.com. We only have a couple of minutes here before we have to break. And I would just like to say that I am excited to a degree on what is going on with the Wisconsin Badgers football program, to a degree. Portal rankings wise, it looks like they've done really well. That's good. I just saw a composite recruiting rankings that takes into account 3 different recruiting services, and the Wisconsin Badgers are ranked 22nd in the next recruiting class coming up for 2027. So I was happy about that. This one here, though, I don't understand. Wisconsin is hiring Darius Hicks as director of scouting and player personnel, a source tells CBS Sports. He was Michigan's director of scouting the last 3 seasons, now set to continue on in the Big Ten with the Badgers. And I said, I don't understand what we're doing hiring people from Michigan State. Yep, this was my tweet. Yep, Michigan State seems like a program that you would want to take someone from. The 2026 class was ranked 46th nationally, 12th in the Big Ten. In 2025, they were ranked in the mid-40s. In 2024, they were ranked in the mid-40s. Ahmed tweets at me and says, who cares about rankings? How many of those players got drafted is what I wanted to know. I said in the last 2 seasons, Michigan State has had 2 players drafted. 2.
That's not great. It could probably be a little better than that. And I will give him a little bit, benefit of the doubt. The head coach at Michigan State wasn't exactly the most stable position over the past couple of years. I think that hurts your recruiting a little bit. So, maybe give him a shot. Luke Fickell has seemed to figure it out. And we thought he wasn't that great of a recruiter, and this year has been pretty good.
Remember, you had a guy here at Wisconsin that came with Fickell that was doing wonderful things. He left to go become the GM at Michigan State. Remember that? And then that backfired, and they ended up firing him, and out he went. With all due respect, I don't want anybody from that program. Now, maybe Pat Fitzgerald will fix it, and maybe I'll reconsider. But right now, the last regime, you can keep all those jokers away from Wisconsin. I don't want any of those guys associated with Michigan State anywhere near the Wisconsin program. None of them. But, of course, doesn't matter what I think. They're bringing him in anyhow. Coming up next, Easton Butler, writer for Packer Report and insider for Packer Report, has lots and lots of stuff, including the list of teams pursuing Romeo Doubs. We'll talk about Rasheed Walker, the chances of Doubs coming back to Green Bay, all straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, here on a Thursday. Still to also come in the 3 o'clock hour. We'll talk about the crew at 3:20. Charlie Sounds of the Day coming up at 3:40. And you'll hear from Cooper Pratt, Brewer shortstop prospect, coming up at 4:20.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in. It is hour number 2 here on a Thursday. Hope everyone is well. Southeast of Wisconsin, it's foggy. Really, really foggy skies. Be careful on the roads. You know what I've determined? I've determined living here forever that I think I hate fog more than I hate snow and more than I hate rain. And I'm going to tell you why. Charles over there shaking. Okay, so rain doesn't bother me. Like, I could care less about rain. Doesn't bother me in the least bit. Okay. Snow bothers me from the aspect of if you don't have a good vehicle, you could go sliding all over the place. Whether it's your vehicle sliding all over the place, which is a helpless feeling because I've had many of those before, or somebody else's vehicle sliding into your vehicle because their tires are bald or they didn't stop quick enough and you can't control it. It's out of your control. So I don't like that either. But do you know why I don't like fog?
Because you're an old man, you can't see,
nope.
Something like that.
Deer.
Oh.
And where we live, there are deer everywhere. In our radio station parking lot, in our grass area, there's deer out here almost every day. You can see deer. And then the way I drive home, because I don't normally take the interstate, because when I leave, it's packed and I'm not going to sit in traffic all day. So I take a different way back to Oak Creek where I live. And again, same thing, deer everywhere. And when you're in the fog, you can't see jack, man. You have no idea where they are if they're coming. And when it's clear out, even when it's dark out, I can put my brights on and see kind of where everybody is. That is my main fear about the whole thing is a deer. Because what was it, 2 years ago when the deer ran into our minivan while driving down the interstate? Like that's just no thanks. Pass. Hate it.
There was one weekend where I drove down to Illinois and I had my old car that broke down on the side of the highway. You remember that?
Yeah.
One? Beauty. Dominique, great car. But
yeah, he names his cars
all the time. I got Helene right now.
Oh, Lord.
But my dad borrowed my car and I borrowed his truck so I could take that down to Illinois so I could do some work down there. And the one weekend he has my car, a deer hits him. He doesn't hit the deer. The deer comes and like kicked the side of the car, dented the whole front hood of my car, jumps over it. I come home that weekend. He's like, I'm sorry. I was like, what? He's like, did you see your car? Didn't even look at it. And then I went out there. I was like, oh yeah, that might be a problem.
Oh my goodness. See? Telling you, just fog drives me nuts. Joining us now on the guest hotline, brought to you by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Easton Butler, writer, insider for Packer Report. Follow him on X at Easton_Butler. Easton, do you name your car like Charlie does? Do you have names for your cars?
No, I just say whatever color and what type of car it is.
Yeah, right. He names this. What would have been the names of your cars?
Dominique was my last car. Helene is the current car. Bertha was my first car ever.
Bertha.
Bertha's got to be a big old car.
No, she actually wasn't. She was a smaller one, but she drove like a bigger car.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's too much information. Easton, I had you out to talk about some stuff concerning the Packers, not about car names. But let's start here. Romeo Doubs is a guy that Tom Silverstein, the Packers beat writer, was just on our show yesterday. And when he was on, he kind of hinted at the end of the interview that he's still not necessarily counting out the idea of Romeo Doubs potentially coming back to Green Bay on a deal. What are you hearing on the Romeo Doubs front?
I've heard that he's more or less like gone. I know he does like Green Bay. He likes culture, likes the city. But realistically, I don't think we'll be able to pay for him, especially with who else we have there. And he will have a ton of suitors in free agency, especially Miami being a top team, along with the Steelers. And Bills were up there too before the DJ Moore trade. So
right. Okay, so we start talking about the Dolphins being involved here. Is this going to be Jeff Hafley just going after all former Packers and trying to bring them all into Miami? Is that what we're about to experience here between him and John Eric Sullivan?
I think they'll get a decent amount of guys more on the defensive side. But I also do think that Malik Willis will end up there too. And Malik is going to want somebody he's familiar with. So I think it would be a perfect match together.
All right. Why Malik Willis to Miami? A lot of people are saying Malik Willis to Arizona. What leads you to the Dolphins aspect?
He's just familiar. I mean, he's got John Eric Sullivan as a GM there. He's got Halfley. Halfley understands him. Been with him the last 2 years, and they have a numerous amounts of defensive coaches. To Arizona, I think it's more of just like a Mike LaFleur connection, but I think Miami is going to want to outbid him, and I don't think Tua will be there much longer.
No, I don't think Tua will be there much longer either. Let's talk about Quay Walker. It doesn't appear Quay Walker is going to be here either in Green Bay. When we had Tom Silverstein on yesterday, he thinks they're definitely going to go sign a linebacker in free agency with the money that they create some cap space with. So that leaves Quay Walker out in the cold. What kind of market is shaping up for him?
Quay, I know from what I've seen, the Cowboys were interested in him along with Bobby Okiri from the Giants. But I do know that if he gets offers, Green Bay they probably won't match it. And I was hearing a number like 11 million float around. Green Bay just won't be willing to do that.
11 million doesn't seem that crazy to me necessarily. Now, the numbers that are going to get crazy, obviously Malik Willis, that number is going to get nuts. We figured that. But the other one that I'm kind of surprised by here, it appears Rasheed Walker is going to go get a bag too.
Yep. He is one of the top tackles on the free agent market this year, even before all the cuts. But a lot of teams are going to want him. I mean, he's been reliable for Green Bay. And people question that, but the best ability is availability, and he's been healthy most of his career here.
Yeah, he has. Talking with Easton Butler, writer for Packer Report, insider for Packer Report. Follow him on X at Easton_Butler. Another name that's out there, not Packer related, but Packer fans obviously are interested because everybody's expecting the Bears to do something here. And that's Max Crosby with the Raiders. And it appears that now maybe he's open to being moved out of Las Vegas. And it appears that maybe Las Vegas is open to moving him. And you had mentioned earlier on X the teams that are potentially interested in making a deal for him.
Yep. So I've been able to gather, I guess, potential offers on what teams have thrown out. Right now, I've heard for the Bears is a first and possibly Tremaine Edmonds. Also, another first could be in play. The other teams I've talked and heard about, every team has offered 2 firsts plus more. And that's been the Rams.
That's all been set up because of the Micah Parsons trade. That deal set the standard for what this deal is going to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know the Rams want him too.
Go ahead.
Bad.
The Rams?
Yep. They've offered quite a bit as well as a defensive player. I can't say who because I don't want to get in trouble with that. But they've thrown some in. And I know we're talking about Max Crosby, but AJ Brown has also been mentioned in trades. And for the Eagles, they came in today with a big trade offer, throwing AJ Brown in a potential package. So
throwing him in as a potential package? Not centered around him. He's being thrown into the package.
Yes, for Crosby.
Oh, for Crosby. Now, okay. Yep. Now, if again, I don't know all the deals, the details like our guy Easton Butler does here. But if there's a one in that package and I get AJ Brown to put potentially with Mendoza at quarterback, there are 2 things that come to mind. Number one, it feels good to give that dude a stud receiver to play with. So that makes sense. But the other part about this, if I'm Vegas, is do I really want to put a rookie quarterback with AJ Brown's and everything that comes with AJ Brown playing on your football team? Like, I don't know if I want to put a rookie quarterback with AJ Brown at this point, even though he's uber talented and would help the offense, but I don't want to deal with the mouth and everything that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's other teams trying to go for AJ Brown right now. New England is one of them, and they actually have a really strong offer. So I've been able to like get some info on that, but I'm just stuck at like what player they're trying to throw in for it.
AJ Brown makes sense. New England, they just get rid of Stephon Diggs and part ways with him, so they go from an older player to a different player on trying to figure out who that guy's going to be for Drake May going forward. From a Packers perspective, have you heard them potentially lining up and matching up with any potential free agents are out there or trades?
I've heard Cam Taylor-Britt. He's the free agent from Cincinnati. We were actually interested in him at the deadline last year, and Cincinnati reportedly wanted
Did not play well. Did not play well last year.
Nope. But he could come to Green Bay. There's an option there. Javon Hargrave is connected, especially to Jonathan Gannon. Gannon really wanted him in Arizona before he signed with the 49ers a few years ago.
That I would like quite a bit. Let me throw another name out at you because it's Minnesota and they're cutting half their team right now. What about Aaron Jones back in Green Bay as a guy to pair with Josh Jacobs at a cheaper, reasonable price because you're not bringing back Wilson, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, I would love it. I am very biased for Aaron Jones, though. Massive fan, good friend. But it would have to be a 1-year vet minimum deal. Green Bay will not want to send more or pay him more than anything.
Well, then what is the plan at running back, do you think? Are they going to go after a Sean Tucker maybe and go that way? Or are they going to go hop into the draft? How does this work?
I know a lot is banking on Marshawn Lloyd, but that's a giant question mark with his health.
No, we don't say his name on this show till he plays back-to-back games. No, we don't say his name. Go ahead.
Otherwise, it will most likely be a running back. I would say a mid to late round running back. So
I'd rather have Aaron Jones. I'd rather have Aaron Jones over all of those guys if, again, he'd be willing to come back here and play. Not only because of what he provides on the field, Easton, but he already has proven to be a leader with the younger players. When he was here the last time, he was a really good leader. So put aside the stuff of on the field, off the field, it would be a huge get for the Green Bay Packers.
Absolutely. I mean, he's also massive with the community. Fans love him. I don't know a single person that hates him. Like he's like the perfect role model for Green Bay.
Talking with Easton Butler, writer, NFL insider for the Packer Report. Follow him on X at Easton_Butler. Let's talk about the restructure that happened earlier today. According to reports, Xavier McKinney, they free up $9 million on that restructure. Once that is officially official, that puts them now underneath the cap because I think they were like 4 over. That takes care of that. We discussed yesterday, Todd Silverstein and I, about Elton Jenkins and trying to figure out how to get that deal done because it does not appear there are a lot of great centers that are going to be on the market necessarily at this point. And while I understand you're going to save $19 to $20 million by moving on from Elton Jenkins and cutting Elton Jenkins, I think you could also make an argument of extending Elton Jenkins for a couple of years, moving that money to the back, keeping him for another year, and saving you having to go look for a center for this upcoming season. Because right now, if the options aren't great, I don't want a rookie center with Jordan Love in a Super Bowl or bust year. And when you have Micah Parsons, after you gave up what you did, every year is Super Bowl or bust as long as you have Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming off a season-ending injury for Elton, and he is getting up there in age. Green Bay isn't a fan of third contracts, and I believe that's the one he would be on. I don't think he would be back. Would it be nice? Yes, but I think there will be options in free agency, whether that's the Washington one that just got released, or you could just go into the draft. I mean, you got Jake Slaughter from Florida, who would be really nice, or Parker the second from Duke. I would like him too.
I don't like rookie centers in critical situations. I mean, if you just think about this, Jordan Morgan's going to play left tackle potentially for the entire season. He hasn't played there at all in the regular season. So he's going to have to go play left tackle. Aaron Banks was hurt half the season, started getting better at the end of the year. So he's at left guard. Your right guard is a guy going into his second year in Escalade. And then at right tackle, you got Zach Tom, who was beat up and hurt all year. And now this rookie's got to make the calls for this offensive line going into the season. Like, that scares me to death, Easton.
Another option you could do is put Zach Tom there. I know he took some snaps at center, but in that case, you'd have to get another tackle. And I know they kind of like Kinnard. I don't know how that would play out, but that's just another option to throw out.
No, I don't like Kinnard. I'm not a guy. Nope, I'm not there on him. Time with Easton Butler, writer for Packer Report, insider for Packer Report as well. Your thoughts on the rest of this division as far as how active these other teams are going to be? Vikings, like we said, cutting everybody. The Bears looked like, I think they're going to be active. They don't want to be a fart in the wind, as Ron Wolf would say, after one good year last year. How active do you think the Bears and Lions will be?
Bears, I think, will be pretty active with what they can do. I know they want to bolster up their defense. They are obviously going to be looking for a new center. I wouldn't be surprised if Sean Ryan goes there. Kind of just poaching him away from Green Bay would not surprise me. Lions, I don't know. Haven't heard too much, so it's more of like a dark horse with them.
And that's the thing that's interesting, because if I'm the Lions, I want somebody opposite of Hutchinson. And if that means giving up ones, then so be it. Look at the Rams. They don't believe in drafting guys in the first round. They trade first round picks. Why? Because they're trying to win a Super Bowl every year. That's why they don't care about first round picks. They would rather have a veteran star player than gambling on a rookie to actually work out at the end of the day. Easton Butler, thanks so much for coming on. You also have a cool thing pinned at the top of your X profile as well. Talk about that.
Yep. This is the second year I've gone this far in depth, but I am tracking prospect visits with the Packers, games, practices they've been to, and I have 138 different pro days that are just on the map and everything that's happening. So today you got Illinois State and Navy's pro day. Tomorrow I think it's Wisconsin, and there's just so much on there. It's a ton of fun to do.
Have you ever been to Illinois State?
I have.
There's nothing down there.
No, I don't like it.
There's nothing around Illinois State. Nothing whatsoever. It's in the middle of nowhere. Thank you so much, Easton, for coming on. I appreciate it, and we'll catch up throughout free agency.
Of course. Thank you so much.
You betcha. There he is, Easton Butler. Follow him on X again at Easton_Butler. Always has some cool information, and a lot of times he's got information that others don't have, especially the visits and all this other stuff going on there. Charlie, you being Chicago, Charlie, what's your gut tell you? What do you think Chicago's going to do in free agency?
I have no clue. I mean, right now, the way you move on from DJ Moore and get off that money, Drew Dahlman leaving this team, I mean, the biggest free agent for this Bears team, for a majority of teams in the NFL, is Trey Hendrickson, isn't it? And I kind of feel like them freeing up all this money is leaning towards going for a Trey Hendrickson. I don't think they have the trade assets for a Max Crosby right now.
Multiple ones and a good defensive player. He said Edmonds.
Maybe. But again, the way Edmonds has been talked about so far this offseason, it's been more the Bears leaning towards cutting him than trading him. And the fact that they brought up so early into the offseason that they were planning on moving on from him is always a bad sign to me. I think I'd rather pay the money for a player than move on from draft picks when you are still such a young team.
No, I agree. I want y'all to trade all your draft picks. Charlie, use it over there. See Sparky Pfeiffer here. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Take a quick time out. Come back on the other side. Let's talk about the Crew. We'll get you updated on what's going on in the game as well with the Milwaukee Brewers and the Colorado Rockies. Don't forget spring training live tonight. As the Brewers are playing. Hear from the Brewers' young star pitchers, Jacob Mizorowski and Kyle Harrison, and get the latest from Arizona. Spring training live with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz from 5 to 7 tonight on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Welcome back. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. If you're looking for somewhere to go watch hoops, baseball, hockey, UFC fight nights, all of that is at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. 2,000 square foot center screen with over 30 different sporting events can be seen at one time. Plus, you can reserve your seats ahead of time by going to Potawatomi.com. Nominal fee that goes towards your food and beverage costs. Speaking of, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails. Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen with a full menu, including all-day brunch, homemade pastries, and desserts. You are going to want to check out the Potawatomi Sportsbook today. 2 levels of seating. As I like to always say, best sportsbook in the Midwest for certain. Check them out today. Again, at Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino.
It's time to talk about the Crew. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Let's get an update on the Milwaukee Brewers game. Have you looked at the box score, Charlie?
I have not yet, no.
Home run today by Garrett Mitchell.
Nice. That's what you need to see.
Garrett Mitchell, leadoff home run for the Brewers, hitting leadoff today. First at bat goes yard. Plus, Garrett Mitchell also has a walk in this game. Rengifo with an RBI as well. Let's see. Jake Bowers with a hit and a run scored. His second stolen base of the year for him. Blake Perkins with a hit and a run scored. Brock Wilken with a hit and an RBI in the game. And Cooper Pratt, who we'll hear from coming up at 4:20. He talked with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz earlier. He has a hit and a run scored as well in this one for the Milwaukee Brewers. Pitching, Robert Gasser, 2 2/3 so far, 3 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts for Gasser. Craig Yoho currently in the game for the Milwaukee Brewers. They're up on the Rockies at Talking Stick. 4-3 right now are the Brewers. Now, I know it's spring training. You're not supposed to get overly excited and stay composed, Sparky. Don't read into things. When you got a guy like Garrett Mitchell trying to find confidence, trying to stay healthy, and you get a leadoff homer and then follow that up with a walk, that tells me you're seeing the ball pretty well today.
Him doing that is really exciting. Seeing Rengifo with an RBI and batting 308 throughout spring training is really exciting. And then seeing Brock Wilken get an RBI in this game. He's batting well in this game. You're seeing a lot of these players at positions that we had question marks about going into the season show that they can handle these roles through spring training. Now it's about staying healthy for all of those guys.
Absolutely right. And spring training live again tonight, 5 to 7 o'clock, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Thanks to Potawatomi Sportsbook for sponsoring spring training live this year. So Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz could be out there. They'll have Jacob Mizorowski coming up tonight, Kyle Harrison coming up tonight. You'll get reaction from all the guys that are pitching here probably today. I'm guessing they probably have already talked with Robert Gasser, so you'll hear from Robert Gasser after his outing today over there at Talking Stick as they're taking in the game before heading back to Maryvale to do their show from the press box there at American Family Field. So stay tuned for that tonight, 5 to 7. Charlie Usen producing the show tonight, and then tomorrow, Brandon Snide gets to produce that show tomorrow night for the last show of the week, Charlie. And Brandon has not worked with either one of these two guys yet.
He has not. It's been quite experience hearing all the stories that they have to tell in between the breaks. On air, the stories that they're telling are just as crazy. Again, I don't envy Tommy very much. Tim seems like a handful. As much fun as he seems like, dude, he seems like a handful. So
he's got a lot going on, man. Got a lot going on. I asked Tommy earlier yesterday. I was like, "Hey, man, are you having fun?" Because Tommy's never been to spring training. He's never been to Arizona. He's never gone anywhere with Tim. They just met like a month ago. And he's like, dude, this is a blast. I'm having an absolute blast out here. He's like, it's a grind. He's like, but it's awesome. He's loving it. So I'm sure there'll be no problem telling Tommy, hey, you want to do spring training next year? He'll be like, yep,
he'll probably already be packing his bags.
Absolutely. Yes, he definitely will. So check that out again tonight, 5 to 7, spring training live, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. All right. So as we talk about the Crew, Quinn Priester, I am very, very, very concerned about Quinn Priester and being a member of this Brewers rotation. Now, I arguably am a guy that is glass half empty, right? Some people are glass half full. I am glass half empty guy. Kind of been that way my whole life. With that being said, when Pat Murphy comes out, what was it, yesterday or the day before?
Yesterday.
And says, hey, man, I'm not really sure about Priester. Has some wrist pain. But then when he said that it comes up his arm, I was like, whoa, that is not good. And then as Murphy continued to talk about that was last year and he kind of pitched through it. Now you take off in the offseason, right? Get yourself right. And when you come back, you're having the same thing again. One day he's okay. Next day he's not. He's playing catch. Then it's not okay. And Pat Murphy again talking about trying to use every avenue to try and figure out what this is potentially. And that he's already had like 2 or 3 opinions on this thing at the end of the day. This does not make me feel very confident in Quinn Priester pitching all that much this year. Quinn Priester talked today more about the injury.
Just kind of like we said, having a long season last year, we're having some, just discomfort in the wrist a little bit and kind of up the chain, working back into things. We're working on it. We're talking to, I'm talking to our medical guys and doing the things that we can, just not responding as quickly as we'd like to, but definitely confident just about kind of going forward and continuing with this process to get ready as soon as possible.
You threw a live early.
Yeah.
Right? Like, was it the day after Woody's first one on the
I
field?
believe so. I'm not sure.
Is that the last time you faced hitters?
Yeah, so that was the last time we faced hitters. Was saying, hey, it's just not feeling as good as it probably should right now. Let's not push it and make a bad decision trying to go too early, too quickly, and just continue to, take it day by day right now.
Are you throwing now?
Yeah, we're playing catch today for sure, and then just continuing to keep that volume as we work through it.
And again, just so we understand, have you shut down from playing catch for a while? Is today a restart?
No, so we've been playing catch kind of every other day here, just kind of trying to take it day by day and just trying to keep the volume so that when we do get past this, we can, launch and not, kind of go from nothing, if that makes sense.
Can you describe what's actually going on with your wrist? Because Murph's just kind of always been vague. Like, is it a pronate, supinate thing, or what's going on?
It's I guess that's the part that's difficult is some throws I'll be able to feel it, and then some throws I don't. And so sometimes it's difficult based on the day to understand kind of what we're going to expect. It's some of the frustration with this whole thing right now, but ultimately, it kind of sucks just taking it day by day, trying to get past this, but, confident that it's nothing big, nothing large, and just something, that probably the body's reacting to after, a really intense season last year, not only highest inning workload, but also full workload in the big leagues, not really having minor league games. It is a different intensity. And, we'll learn from this as we continue to navigate it and hopefully start responding a little bit better.
You can mark this down right now. That's crap. That is glass half full guy. And you have to be, I guess, when you're trying to convince yourself that you're going to be okay and you're going to be able to pitch this season. But when you hear him and Murphy talk about what this thing is, which is essentially pain in his wrist that then comes and shoots up his arm, folks, again, doing it a while, I don't remember any other pitcher that I've ever covered in a Brewers uniform ever describing anything like this, ever. To me, if you have shooting pains up your arm from your wrist, that's not good. I don't feel like that's just going to magically go, we're not going to have any pain the rest of the year. We're going to be fine. And I also feel like by saying I'll pitch through it, probably is not going to lead to something good by the time this whole thing is said and done. Not a doctor, not acting like I know everything. All I'm saying is I'd like to know what the opinions are. Are any of the opinions that you received involving surgery? And if so, what are we having surgery on? Are we having surgery on the wrist? Are we having surgery on the elbow? Is there something involving the shoulder? Like, where exactly are we having the surgery? That would be what I would want to know if I was in Arizona, because Murph said you had 2 or 3 opinions. Do any of them require surgery? And if so, on what part of the body are we talking about doing the surgery on? That would be what I'd like to know.
I feel like surgery has to be a part of the conversation. If this has been going on as long as they say it's been going on.
But wait, if you go back here, me see if I can just kind of guess where we are in this thing.
Kind of what we're going to expect. It's some of the frustration with this whole thing right now, but ultimately, it kind of sucks just taking it day by day, trying to get past this, but, confident that it's nothing big, nothing large, and just something, that probably the body's reacting to after, a really intense season last year, not only highest inning workload, but also full workload in the big leagues, not really having minor league games. It is a different intensity. And
he said they're confident that it's nothing big. Now, in my mind, surgery is big. He may not agree, but in my mind, surgery is big. So when you say that, if I were to ask you what the second or third opinion is, I would assume surgery involves none of those opinions. That would be my guess. But if surgery doesn't involve any of those opinions, then I need to understand, what did they tell you need to do in order to get past this? Man, he was shut down for a month or two, probably at least, before he could get himself back up and going. Most of these guys start probably warming up and loosening up the arm and playing catch a little bit around Christmas, maybe after Christmas, and then start throwing with some purpose by the middle of January. So they're kind of going a little bit here and loose going into spring training in the middle of February. There's usually that month ramp up to where you're getting ready. Like this is, to me, is very, very concerning about Quinn Priester. Very concerning. Now, we have a question, but we're not going to get to it because we have Charlie Sands today. But I'm very concerned. I'm just telling you right now, I went through enough of this whole, he's not that bad, we're going to just send him out there, right? We went through that with the Packers. We've heard about it with the Bucks. And now here we are with the Brewers with this guy. You have enough pitching depth. If he has to have surgery, Charlie, just call it. Just go do it. And I'm sure they're trying to play the long game of, but if we don't have surgery, maybe he can pitch in June. Maybe he can pitch in July if we shut him down. But if he has surgery, we're going to lose him for the year. So we're going to roll the dice and see what happens. And again, I'm just spitballing here as far as what potentially could be going on.
I guess I just don't want a season of questions, kind of like we had in the first half of the season with William Contreras last year, where it was just constantly, why is he not the same player that we've been seeing? He's playing well enough. He's getting this team to the point where you can't take him out of the lineup, but at the same time, it's not William Contreras. I feel like if you let Quinn Priester play, it's just going to be constantly another season of those excuses of, if he's not as good as last year, well, it's this weird wrist thing that he has. Just, if this, again, has been plaguing you for this long, I don't know why you've waited this long to try to get a surgery, try to do something else than what you've been doing.
Should have done it when the season ended. Tom in Cedarburg, you're next on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. What's up, Tom?
How you doing? No, I'm not a doctor. And I don't play one on TV.
Okay.
But I played baseball with a guy that had the same issue.
Okay.
Turns out he had nerve damage.
Oh.
And it sounds, have you ever had like a sciatic nerve pain?
Yes.
That's exactly what this is, but it's in the arm. And my friend could not pitch for a year and a half after that.
So what was the solution?
He had surgery. He had surgery, and it could be just, a tendon against the nerve or a muscle against something like that where it could be fixed probably easily, but
it's surgery,
I'm
though.
with you. I'm with you, Sparky. I think this isn't just this isn't a torn labrum or a Tommy John thing. When you have shooting pain, that's your nerves.
Yes, that's not good. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Tom. You betcha. Take care. I get pain in my leg, my one leg. And how I've gotten rid of it, for the most part, is I just got to really stretch really well at night, and I won't have it for quite a stretch of period of time. If I forget to stretch, then I'll have the pain in my leg. But otherwise, I'm good to go. No issues. I just don't have a good feeling about it. Now, what I do have a good feeling about is the Brewers' depth. You have enough arms where if you were to lose Priester for a significant amount of time or potentially the year, if that were to happen, you have more than enough guys that could potentially get into this role and go. Harrison could obviously be that guy. He has started 4 seasons with the Giants. So he obviously can get in there and go. Sproat, I think, would be fine in there for a large chunk of the season as well. I think that's something to consider. So All of that is something to look at kind of going forward here. And then on top of that, you got the Woodruff thing. Woodruff is going to make his debut on Saturday at spring training as they start his slow ramp up. Now, do I care if he doesn't pitch at opening day? No, I could care less. You just need Woodruff ready for the playoffs. That's all I care about with Woodruff. So if Woodruff doesn't pitch the middle of April, fine. Don't care. As long as they're not hiding any issues with Woodruff, I have no issue whatsoever by doing a slow ramp up with Woodruff. This Priester thing, on the other hand, clearly they should not be doing anything at this point.
No. And this is something where you got to be more careful with him. And with Woodruff, yeah, I guess I'd be okay with the slow ramp up. I'm just so sick and tired of not being able to see Brandon Woodruff right away at the beginning of the season and have him be a part of this rotation earlier on and be a part of this team. It sucks to keep seeing him come later on.
Yep, no question about it. Let's go to our guy in La Crosse, Thomas in La Crosse, joins us now here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What's up, Thomas?
How we doing, Sparky? Hey, Charlie.
Doing good, man.
Yeah, so Quinn Priester. Terrible injury to see happen to such a young, bright star. The 24-year-old, 2019 first-round pick, right? I do not want to see him use a Packers tactic and rush him back from this injury. They need to just let him see the hand wrist specialist, just take it easy, just ease him back into it. And then once he's back at that 100%, then bang. Get him back out there. And that's towards the end of the season, then so be it. If they need to go hit up the market and see if there's another big name or a smaller name arm to fit that void while he's out of the starting pitching lineup, then so be it. But that's kind of how I see it going down. Curious to get your thoughts, though, Sparky.
Thomas, you bring up an interesting point. Thanks for the call. As far as would they go and try and either make a deal for a veteran pitcher that you know is going to be able to handle the innings and be an innings eater? Would they go on the free agent market and find some oldie but goodie to try and soak up innings? Or would they say, we're going to roll with our young guys and see how this plays out? I tend to lean to roll the young guys and see let's see what plays out.
I'd be good with rolling with the young guys, but the free agent market, there's good players out there. Lucas Giolito is a free agent right now. He's going to be a little bit more expensive, but could be put into this rotation, be a 3 immediately. If you want a little cheaper, like guys like John Gray, who's a little bit more of a veteran player, could come in. Patrick Corbin's there, Tyler Anderson, Wade Miley, Nestor Cortez, Zach Littell, Michael.
Nestor Cortez is still there.
Michael Kopech could be an interesting one. I know he hasn't been in that starting rotation for a while. He's been more of a bullpen guy, but he had that high prospect type of ceiling that a lot of people had. Marcus Stroman, Carlos Carrasco. There's a lot of good options out there if you did want to do a short-term veteran option, just free agent-wise.
Cortez is interesting, but we all know I thought Cortez was going to be something last year, and then they moved on from him. That one's entertaining. The rest of them, I don't know. Coming up next, Charlie Sounds of the Day. Top 3 clips from around the world of sports. We'll find out what Charlie has today. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Charlie Usen, other side of the glass. Let's talk about my fine friends over there at Prize Picks. We did a lineup yesterday on the air. Remember that, Charlie?
We did. How'd we do?
Kaminga didn't play.
Sparky,
Make sure to
man.
download the Prize Picks app. Use code Sparky to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Sparky to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All you have to do is do a lineup like we did yesterday. Hopefully you're guys.
Maybe of guys who are playing.
Hopefully you pick guys that are playing. And it's really simple. It's 2 or more player stat projections. You go more or less. So for like basketball, let's say, you could do more or less on points for a certain player. You could do rebounds. You could do assists. You could do a combination of points, rebounds, and assists, or blocks. All kinds of variations and ways to go about this with more or less in putting these players in your lineup. You can stack players in your lineup like we did with Kaminga last night, who didn't play. But we did it last night anyhow, and it didn't work out. But it could work out for you. Or you could go with the power play or the flex play. Power play means that you can go for the biggest payout possible. Flex play means you can get one wrong and still get paid out either way. No matter your play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code Sparky to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. That means essentially you have $55 to play with by putting $5 in. Come on. That's code Sparky to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. With that, it's time for this.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Charlie, what do we got? Top 3 for today.
All right, so first up, we're going to head on over to the Herd with Colin Cowherd, where Rick Pitino, head coach of St. John's basketball, is on that show saying parents are to blame for the state of American basketball, not just AAU.
Well, the easiest thing to do is blame the AAU system, and I'm not one of those people that do that. I would rather blame parents than I would AAU. I think parents today are way too involved in their children's careers as far as growing up. The parents need to just sit in the stands, enjoy the game, and let the kids develop a love for the game. 20 years ago, I never dealt with parents. I'm very lucky. I've got parents that are disciplinarians. They get after their kids. But the ones that aren't hurt much more than AAU. They want to, okay, let's go to a different school next year because you can make $300,000 more. No, let's grind it out where you're at and play for Tom Izzo and play for this person and play for this guy because he's going to make you a terrific basketball player with discipline and character.
I saw a post, was it last night or 2 nights ago on X that somebody nationally had retweeted, national right or whatever. And it was some dude's dad that made up an entire graphic of his kid wearing his football uniform, the whole deal, and announcing that his 11-year-old, maybe 12-year-old, has decided to take his talents elsewhere and is leaving his current team and will be entering the youth football portal looking for a new team for next season. And this writer was just bewildered by the whole thing. He's like, man, this has gone too damn far now. Now we got kids that are playing like Pee-wee football, determining that they want to go somewhere else and play and making social media posts from their parents and everything else. So yes, Rick Pitino, I tend to agree with you that I completely understand where you're coming from as far as parents. No question about it. And that is a lot of times what the issue is, right? Where you have these kids that are really good at, 10, 11, 12 years old or whatever. And their parents are like, oh, he's going to be in the big leagues. I'm going to get to go watch him play for the Brewers at some point. And then away we go. And the money that is spent will make your head absolutely freaking spin by the amount of money put into trying to get these kids to get to that level. And then when the kid doesn't get to that level, now you're mad at the academy that is training your kid and putting all of these resources into him because your kid hasn't reached the talent level that you had expectations for. So yes, Rick Pitino, 1,000% correct. A lot of this is parenting. Yes. Next
up, we're going to hear from Atlanta Hawks all-star Jalen Johnson on what it means to be from Wisconsin.
I mean, most importantly, I just want to show everybody in the world that, Wisconsin's on the map for basketball. A lot of times, at least like growing up, I felt like Wisconsin was always overlooked as far as talent-wise. Like I always felt like we were one of the states that were always very underrated, and just for me to continue to put us on the map, and along with the other guys in the NBA as well, I feel like we're doing a good job, and we continue to wear that badge of honor.
Don't bring up Halliburton. Colin Knippel would have been fine.
Halliburton's from Wisconsin.
I don't care. Don't bring him up. He doesn't wear it as a badge flag for this state. That's crap. By the way, I had a text message come in on the Nicolay Law Talking text line from the 414. Cortez is out for the 2036 season. Well, that can't be. So I looked it up. 2026 season. He had surgery in October to fix a torn tendon in his throwing arm. Will not be back until after the All-Star break, potentially late August. So never mind, Nestor Cortez for the Brewers. Thank you for whoever texted that in and just mistyped on their text. Coming up next, Green and Gold Update. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. DJ Moore is on the move. Does that make you happy, Packer fans? He's leaving the Bears. Straight ahead.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
I got to educate somebody on our talking text line. Mickey, you'll either hate me for it and not listen, or you'll just adjust and get used to it. My name pronunciation game is horrible. Would you agree, Charlie?
Yeah. And I'm not much better, if we're being honest. We'll try.
I'm just saying I'm horrible. So he's mad about how I said Renhifo's name. Apparently that's how you're supposed to say Renhifo.
We'll get it.
Did I say Rengifo?
Yeah, I think I said it too.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
We'll get there.
It's spring training. We'll figure it out. But either way, I promise you I'm going to mispronunciate a bunch of names on a consistent basis, and it's going to drive you nuts if that drives you nuts. So I apologize ahead of time, but I'm just telling you I'm horrible with names. Anybody's name, matter of fact. I'm horrible at remembering people's names. I'm horrible at pronouncing people's names. In general, it's been something I've been bad at my whole life. All right, coming up on this hour of the show, the third and final hour before we get to spring training live, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz from 5 until 7. They got Miz on tonight. They got Kyle Harrison on tonight as well. Definitely want to stay tuned for that one. We will have Cooper Pratt. They had a chance to talk with Cooper Pratt, Brewers shortstop prospect, expected to be at AAA this year. They talked to him earlier today. We'll play that back for you, giving an update on that Brewers-Rockies game. Garrett Mitchell is doing things. And things Sparky missed, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals, will come up at 4:40, but it's 4 o'clock. Let's go.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, time for the green and gold update. It's got a Bears feel to it, but we've tied the Packers into it as well. So earlier today, while Charlie was hanging out with his grandmama, doing just great things. Like, I'll say this again because I've said it before. And if you want to know the character of somebody or whatever else, if that person does a lot to help their mama or their grandmama or grandparents in general, and just does it not because they have to, but because they want to, because they want to help and they want to do that, man, if you're doing that type of stuff, A+, all about it, because that's what you should be doing. Not a lot of people do, but that's what you should be doing. And Charlie Usen does it each and every week for his grandma, and it is cool stuff, man. So Charlie was not wrapped up in sports. Charlie was not wrapped up into his phone and X. He was paying attention to her and taking care of doing stuff for her and all of that stuff. And so I could completely understand that, and I think it's very cool. Having said that, DJ Moore did get traded while that was all going on. And he got traded to the Buffalo Bills. I think it's a bad idea. Now, from the Buffalo Bills standpoint, you fire the head coach, but you promote the GM to president. Makes no sense. So now this knucklehead makes this deal for an aging wide receiver on a fairly decent sized contract on top of that to a guy that disappeared for stretches during the Bears season last year in Chicago. Got cute kids. I'll give them that.
Which is exactly what they did last year when they brought in Amari Cooper on like the same exact type of situation.
They've been trying to figure this out since they lost Diggs. It's been an ongoing cycle. So now you go and you get DJ Moore. Now, not only did you go get DJ Moore, you didn't get DJ Moore for a 5. Oh, no. You gave up a 5, yes, but you gave up a 2 as well. You know, you add those numbers together. I'm pretty sure that gives you at least a 1 if you combine value of both of those picks in the grand scheme of things. The Bears get off of that DJ Moore contract, which I'm sure they are elated about, and they pick up a couple of draft picks in the process to continue to add to that core. From a Packer fan standpoint, is this a good or a bad thing, do you think, Packer fans? Because obviously we don't want the Bears to be good. We want them to stink, right? You don't want them to be good again next year. And you traded a starting wide receiver away. So what are we left at with wide receiver in Chicago at this point? Odunze, right? And then Loveland's at tight end. There's been some chatter about Cole Kmet essentially could be a cap casualty here at some point. We'll see if that goes down, the other tight end. But those are the two guys. Then you have Luther Burden III, who showed flashes in the second half of the year that he could be a legitimate receiver. So it appears currently that Burden the third and Odunze maybe are going to be your starting wide receivers in Chicago, which means they have decided to go the young route at wide receiver like the Packers have been doing for the last several years and not spend their money at that position, at least not as of right now. Now, do they go get in the Stephon Diggs conversation and bring in Stephon Diggs this offseason to replace DJ Moore? Maybe that's a possibility. But is DJ Moore being traded away a good or a bad thing for the Green Bay Packers? Nikolai Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials, WI Sports Radio, streaming us live on X and on YouTube. Don't forget, go to wisportsradio.com for all your podcast needs. You can also, wherever you download your favorite podcast app. A lot of great stuff right there on the front page of the website to take advantage of. Scotty Tiffany texts in and says, love that Moore's gone. He made Williams look good. It'll be interesting if Odunze can stay healthy. Who else do they have? Well, you see, that's where it becomes interesting with this whole deal. Because you have to make the decision of if Burden and Odunze are it, or if you'd rather go in a different direction, Charlie, and get a veteran.
I think you kind of have to go in a different direction and get a veteran. Rome Odunze was awesome in the first half of the season, and then he got hurt, and then he was non-existent for the rest of the season. He's got to be a guy, like Scotty Tiffany points out, has to stay on the field and has to be the leader of this group. But at the same time, I mean, you saw it, especially at the end of the year last year, where this Bears team was throwing to random players, like guys that had not been on the field the entire season. It was kind of crazy, and they were becoming clutch for this team. They need to find somebody who can be more there all the time for Caleb Williams. And DJ Moore was doing that at the end of the season. He was really clutch towards the end of the year. It wasn't really the amount of yards he was getting per game, but when they needed to throw to him, he was there until the final play of the season against the Rams, where he just wasn't there, wasn't in his spot. So I think this is a deal where it's good for the Bears to get off this contract and try to go in this direction of the young offense, especially since Caleb Williams got so comfortable with Colson Loveland towards the end of the year. But I think it's also good for the Packers because now the Bears have to find another veteran wide receiver, a guy who has probably been disgruntled in a Stephon Diggs or different situations. A.J. Brown, if they want to go and make a trade. Both those guys have their question marks despite having really high upside. You knew what you had at DJ Moore. Now you're throwing a question mark back into that passing game when you started to kind of figure out what that passing game was going to be towards the second half of the season once you figured out that run game. I think that's the other issue with this and why it doesn't help the Packers as much as maybe people would like to hope is that the run game's still there. I know Drew Dahlman retired out of nowhere earlier in the week. The rest of that offense line is still in place. Darnell Wright is an awesome right tackle who's one of the best run blockers at that position in the league. Joe Thuney was the protector of the year for the Bears. Like, they still have a great room, plus two running backs that had really good seasons. Yes, DJ Moore leaving this team takes away that guy who killed the Packers towards the end of the year. But at the same time, you can't keep downplaying the Bears because the one guy is gone.
Well, and this is the thing, too. How much of a leader really was DJ Moore at the end of the day? Really in that Bears locker room? How much of a leader was he as far as bringing Caleb Williams along that first year when Caleb was a rookie and obviously the offensive coordinator was a mess for Caleb Williams and Caleb apparently not knowing how to watch film correctly and all this other stuff? Because again, and I don't know what the dynamics was in that locker room, but if you're DJ Moore and he's your quarterback and you think he is your quarterback going forward, aren't you grabbing him like, hey, dog, you good? Like, need any help with anything? Anything I can do to help out? Because if that was the case, wouldn't you have sat down at some point with Caleb Williams to watch film together and kind of go over stuff? And it doesn't feel like anybody was doing that with Caleb Williams.
DJ Moore was a leader when he wanted to be a leader. Like, it was very clear. When he was having good games, he was happy to stand out there and talk the guys up and cheer them on. But when he was having a bad game, or Caleb Williams was having a bad game, he was sitting on the bench with his head in his hands, not talking to anybody, was pouty. He could be a good leader if he wanted to. And I think how quickly last season the Bears de facto went to Caleb Williams as that leader of this team so early on in the season tells me that they didn't believe anybody else was able to kind of fill that role right away. I think when they add Joe Thuney into that group, I think that helps the leadership on the offense too. It felt like the Bears went out and made moves or took steps within the roster already to overtake DJ Moore as leader of this offense when he really should have been that guy the entire time. And he just wasn't. He got mad about things or he'd get super excited about things. You can't be that on and off and expect to still be respected as that type of player.
Life of a wide receiver in the National Football
cornerback
League.
too.
Life of both of those guys in the National Football League. I misspoke on that trade. So it's actually 920. Thank you for correcting me. It is Moore and a 5 for a second, essentially, is what it is. So the Bears get a second. They give up the wide receiver and a 5th-round pick. I still think that's a good deal for the Chicago Bears, getting a 2nd-round pick for a guy that by the end of the year wasn't as big of a factor as you expected him to be, especially when you paid him that extension. So I still think that works out. From the 715, Romeo Doubs to the Bears.
Be intriguing. I wouldn't hate that.
I would. I don't want Romeo Doubs to the
he would
Bears.
kill the Packers.
I do not want Romeo Doubs to the Bears. And the other thing about Romeo Doubs is he's big and physical. So you want to talk about that running game and doing that type of stuff, he would probably fit into kind of what they would want to do.
Which is what they were kind of trying to do. I know he's nowhere near as big and physical, but Olamide Zaccheaus last year for the Bears, they wanted to use him in that kind of middle of the field wide receiver set when they couldn't get the tight ends open in that spot. And he was on and off too throughout the season. He would have his big games, big moments, but wasn't there all the time. Romeo Doubs could play that role, and I think could play it really well for the Bears.
Darnell Mooney is going to be a cap casualty, it looks like. Do they bring back Mooney?
I'd be interested. I don't know. He just hasn't done anything since he left Chicago. It's been kind of
all due respect with what he's had to play with in Atlanta.
He chose to go there, man.
Well, I understand. I'm just saying they exactly haven't had stellar quarterback play there to play with.
He was on the on and up. Like he was the guy when he left Chicago that everybody was like, he could have a breakout year if he goes and makes himself a number 1 wide receiver somewhere, and then just went somewhere where he can't make himself the wide receiver 1.
I'll give you another name. Now, if the Bears were to go this way, they'd have to free up a lot of money, number 1. And number 2, they would essentially say, we're out on Crosby and Trey Hendrickson as far as trading for Crosby and signing Trey Hendrickson, because this dude claims he's going to get number 1 money. That's Alec Pierce from the Colts. That's going to hit the free agent market. I think you'd be crazy to give that guy number 1 money.
Me too.
He thinks he's going to get number 1 money, and he thinks he's going to get way more than 80 targets.
I think he was just talking to Kay Adams is what it was.
I think he's crazy.
I think he was just talking to Kay Adams, and like all the other NFL players talk themselves up when they do.
That's crazy talk is what he is talking about at that point.
Yeah, I would pass on Alec Pierce. If he thinks he's a number 1 type of guy, like he had his flashes last season, but I think that was more the offense that Shane Steichen was running and that Daniel Jones was figuring it out. Because after that, it just didn't feel like this was a guy that had that super high ceiling. You saw what he could be with that Colts team.
Yep.
I just feel like the Bears, again, have other spots that they need to address that wouldn't involve reaching on a wide receiver with number 1 money.
Let's talk about our friends over there at Habish, and Rotier. Habish, and Rotier. National reputation, hometown service. There's times when it's smart to keep quiet and times when you need the right team speaking for you. Knowing when to call experienced attorneys can change the outcome. 1930 is when Habish started this thing. Now, no, they're all not almost 100-year-old attorneys. It's not the same group that was there when they started. And they certainly didn't have 13 locations around the state when they started this thing in 1930 like they do now. So if you're listening to the game in Wausau or WNFL in Green Bay and Appleton, they have offices right there in your backyard. And the great thing about them is, yes, they win big. Yes, they've got record-setting winning cases for the state of Wisconsin. Absolutely. But don't let that stop you from going, well, I don't think I'm going to, potentially get as much as what their big cases are. That doesn't matter. They will treat you just as importantly as they treat any other case that they have in front of them. They're going to make you feel like you are the most important. And that's how you should feel, because in your world, you are the most important, and making sure that that case goes the way that you want it to go. Get a hold of them today. Habish.com. Again, Habish.com. Call them 1-800-2HABISH. 1-800-2HABISH, or visit them, Habish.com. Habish, and Rotier. National reputation and hometown service. Up next, we'll hear from Cooper Pratt, Brewers shortstop prospect. Had a chance to talk with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz, hosts of Spring Training Live, tonight from 5 to 7. They talked to Cooper Pratt earlier today. We'll give you that, and we'll give you an update on the Brewers-Rockies game. Garrett Mitchell is having himself a game for the crew. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. C. Sparky Fifer with you. Hope y'all are doing well here on a Thursday. Thanks for listening. Do appreciate it. Charlie Usen, other side of the glass. Still to come, things Sparky missed. Brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. We'll talk about the Nolan Winter injury in the Badgers game last night. We have an update on that. Bill Simmons of The Ringer with more crazy crap ideas. Had Charlie laughing today when I told him what the latest Bill Simmons idea was. I don't know if Bucs fans would be excited about this idea or not, but we'll jump into that. And Pat McAfee helping a sport in a big, big way last night. And we'll tell you what that is all about, too. Time now to hear from Cooper Pratt, Brewers shortstop prospect that will probably start the year at AAA for the Milwaukee Brewers. Will be the first fallback option, I think, if Joey Ortiz were to fail in the first couple of months of the season. Those of you that live in the Appleton area, I'm sure have seen Cooper Pratt play in Appleton in the last couple of years, too. Here's Cooper Pratt talking with the franchise, Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz, host of Spring Training Live that you'll hear tonight from 5 to 7. They'll be joined by Jacob Mizorowski and Kyle Harrison, two starting pitchers for the Brewers. And they caught up with Cooper Pratt earlier today in Maryville.
Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz in the Brewers clubhouse. Spring Training Live 2026 with Brewer prospect Cooper Pratt. Cooper, how are you, man?
Fantastic.
Okay,
Fantastic.
Really? Why fantastic?
I mean, it's baseball season, man. It's time to play ball.
Itching to get to the summer weather a little bit. How is it in Arizona so far for you this season?
Perfect. Weather's perfect. Ready to start the season and get that going.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. When you were drafted, obviously you had a college path if you chose, but Brewers took a shot. Slot was right. And how'd you feel after that? What went into that?
It was a difficult decision for sure. I mean, I almost went the college route and prayed about it. I mean, it was kind of in the moment, but I feel like it was kind of okay, do I want to play professional baseball now or do I want to try and go to college and see how that goes? And the door was open. I didn't know if the door was going to be open in 3 years, but the door was open now, and I'm glad that I picked the choice that I did.
Yeah, how does that decision factor, like patience and like timing, all being a part of it? Are those two like the bigger factors that go into it, or what else goes into that decision?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of knew what to expect going into college.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what to expect going into pro ball. I remember like I got here and I was like they flew me out and I saw like the college guys that we drafted and I was just a skinny little twig and I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? And then I just realized it's the same game, and it's really like once you figure out the system, it's just baseball.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It doesn't change. I mean, to a large degree, it's 90-foot base pass, 6 feet 6 inches, catch, throw, hit, run.
Catch, throw, hit, and run. Just everyone gets a little bit bigger every level you go up.
And a little bit, and a whole lot better.
I wouldn't say a whole lot better, but it's just more consistency for sure.
What was like a welcome to pro ball moment from that jump? When you make that jump from high school into pro, you've gone up a couple of levels now here too throughout the system. What was the one moment that you can remember like, oh, I'm playing baseball professionally now?
First off, the extra 2 innings, they do that in college. That was at first that was like oh my gosh, these games are so much longer now type thing. But I remember like in the ACL, I like booted a ball with 2 outs or something, maybe in an instructs game. And then the next batter took one way deep. And I was like, shoot. And it like tied up the game. I'm like, dang, they really do like when you make a mistake. Yeah, they make you pay. And I was like, shoot. Welcome to pro ball, I guess.
Thanks for saying shoot there. Cooper Pratt joining us here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Well, now you're up with the big league club here in Arizona. You love the weather right now. How you feeling about the game so far? Where you think you're at right now? You've been rising up throughout the ranks here at a very crowded position, it feels like, but a position also that could be of need. And who knows what the timing might entail. How you feeling so far with your progression in your game in 26?
Yeah, I mean, just getting the at-bats. It's spring, it's early. Coming in and taking advantage of getting early at-bats. No matter how pretty they may be, really doesn't matter in the spring. If I hit 500 or if I hit 50, I mean, once the season starts, that's when it counts. But getting to see pitchers and get ready for the season is really big. And the more at-bats I can get, the better.
there's a lot of different philosophies in hitting. And I know in talking to players over the years that one of the crucial parts is timing. And is that a big thing? I mean, obviously it's a big thing, but for you, is that an area of focus would be timing and then adjust from there?
I'd say that's the biggest thing, because if you're on time, it really doesn't matter what your swing is like. If you have good timing on everything, obviously swing, it kind of does matter, but if you have good timing, a bad swing could hit a home run or et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, yeah, obviously you want to be on time to hit, but then you get some pitches that you kind of have to adjust.
Yeah. And how about on the fielding side of things, the defensive side? You know that you're coming up as a shortstop, position of needs, getting up to the big leagues, might say third base. How comfortable are you moving around? We talked about versatility with a lot of guys here, but when you're talking about trying to work on your game on the defensive side, do you do that at more than one position as of right now?
Right now, no, but I've grown up playing second base. I've played third base before. It's not hard to figure out, especially second base. I played a lot of that in high school when my older brother played shortstop and I was pushed to second. But, I mean, I can't imagine third base is much harder. I mean, it's all reaction. They hit it harder, but it's fielding a ground ball. And, I've played third base before. Obviously, I'd have to, get used to it again. But second base is like riding a bike, I think. I mean, I haven't played it in 4 years, but it seems pretty muscle memory.
I think I know the answer to this question, but let's find out. Prospect rankings. The future looks great for you, Cooper. I mean, it does within this organization. Do you think more about that, or do your friends think more?
My friends, I honestly don't care a lick about it. Yeah, it's cool, but it really means nothing. It's not going to determine whether you make the big leagues or not. There's plenty of people that make the big leagues that aren't on that list, and plenty that aren't on the list that end up having amazing careers.
Yeah. How much communication do you have with the big leagues when you're a guy working through single A, double A, and how much constant communication do you have in a season, I guess, with the big league club during that time?
What do you mean?
Meaning just you get a bunch of relationship builds here at spring training right now. You're talking with Murph, you're talking with other positional coaches from time and time here. Does that kind of get cut off when you head down to Biloxi?
A little. I mean, we have rovers that go through each affiliate and check out the big league teams and stuff like that. And we'll have people like that. When the season starts, it's kind of all business. Every club is focusing on their club. And I don't.
Yeah, makes sense. And who's helping you out the most down at those levels there? Who are some really influential pieces for you as you're coming up in this system that you might want to give a shout out to?
Shout out JB, Justin Bohr. I told him I was going to shout him out. No, they're all it's all good. They all have something different that they can offer you. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there is no one's more than the other type thing. They all do a great job of giving you the information you need or telling you stuff you need to hear. And I can't give any more credit to one than the other because they all do a great job.
Well, the future looks really bright for you, Cooper. We're rooting for you, and we'll see you in Milwaukee at some point for sure.
So thank you, guys.
There is Cooper Pratt talking with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz. Catch more of them coming up tonight. Spring Training Live, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Tonight, Jacob Mizorowski, along with Kyle Harrison, will be joining both those guys tonight from 5 to 7. They now have asked both guys that we've played back, Brock Wilken and Cooper Pratt, about rankings, prospect rankings, and do they pay attention to it, and so forth. Both of them said, no, don't care about it one way or the other, and so forth. So this is my thing. You can sit here and tell me, man, those rankings don't mean anything, Sparky, right? It doesn't matter what they put together on MLB Pipeline. It doesn't matter what they put together on Baseball America. None of that means anything at the end of the day. And I would disagree. These aren't a bunch of idiots looking at players that don't know what they're looking at and don't know how to scout. There's a reason Jim Kals has been doing this forever, and some of these other guys that are involved in it. So maybe it is just a fan deal where this is more for the fans to get an idea of how good their players are and so forth. Like we just had on Sam Dykstra yesterday talking about the top 30 list that they dropped on MLB Pipeline on Tuesday, I guess it was. And we went over a bunch of the guys. So maybe it is for the fans. But I don't remember the last time where there was a prospect deemed as a crown jewel in a trade that wasn't on a top 30 list, that was deemed a crown jewel in a trade that wasn't a top 5, top 10 guy on one of these lists. Like they're pretty close, I would imagine, to being relatively correct. Now, do some of the top guys miss? Yes, Keston Hiura, right? No question. Everybody thought he was going to be better than he was. It never worked out. So there are obviously Lewis Brinson, another guy that was going to be that guy in the Brewer system coming up. He was one of the main guys in that Christian Yelich deal that sent him and other prospects to the Marlins. That never panned out. That didn't work out. So sure, sometimes they're going to miss on guys. Other times, like Jackson Churio, they were right. Now, will they be right on Jesus Madej? Don't know. Will they be right on Pena? Find out. The way that they both just dismissed the whole thing, I don't know. I'm not saying they have to look at it or whatever else, but it was almost disrespectful the way they kind of passed that out. Meanwhile, when you're coming up in travel baseball, those high schools, those colleges, they all pay attention to the lists. You have Vinny Rottino, who helps run the prep baseball report for Wisconsin and does the scouting, all that, and writes up the reports and talks about all these kids. I promise you, these colleges, they're looking at all of that stuff. Plus, they're coming to the games themselves and looking, but they're talking to Vinny Rottino, getting his thoughts on players. They're talking to everybody around them to put that together. Those lists there, kids can say the same thing. I really don't care about those lists one way or the other. Okay, you don't have to care about them. But that does go a far way in how you're perceived across colleges and everything else. Same thing with football. If you're on the top 10 in Wisconsin or top 5 in Wisconsin or whatever else, and you could say the star rankings don't mean anything. Okay, maybe they don't. But if you look at the schools that normally have all these 5 stars and so forth, those are normally the schools that are in the playoff contention every year. Once in a while, you get somebody that's not like Indiana. That's a rare, very, very rare deal, Charlie.
It is. And I think, like, through my experience, guys were always looking at that stuff. That was high school. Like, they can say they're not. I mean, I had 0 stars. I wasn't on anything. But for some reason, I had like a 24/7 profile because I was on a team with other guys who had star rankings or were going D1. Sure. So they just kind of looked at everybody on those teams. I would check my 24/7 profile just to see like what was happening, see if there's anything changing on that. It never did, but I wanted to see that. And I think that these guys like Cooper Pratt, who's consistently been at the top of the Brewers rankings, even Brock Wilken to some degree, you know you're going to stay up there. I bet you Mike Bovey's looking at his rankings. I bet you Mike Bovey's not happy that he's dropping completely out of the top 30. Yep. Like those guys pay attention to that stuff, and they can say they don't, but he at least looked at it. He at least stopped to read that list 100%. Doesn't matter how in-depth it was. He knows where he's ranked.
Got another one here from the 262, Matt Gamble. That's another guy that was supposed to be much better than he was, and that never worked out either at the end of the day. So, yeah, no, they're not always right. But when you start seeing who's getting traded where and what the deal is and so forth, normally when you have people talking about the crown jewel of deals and who GMs want in trades and so forth, and you hear John Heyman, who doesn't analyze minor league baseball, and you hear Bob Nightingale, who doesn't analyze minor league baseball, and they're hearing from the GMs of who they wanted and why they wanted them, and then you go look at the minor league lists. Oh, boy, look, it makes sense, Charlie.
Yeah, these guys know what they're doing. Like you had mentioned before, I wouldn't say these players are being disrespectful to them like you had said before, but I think to some degree they should care about their rankings because it does matter about how much you're going to get traded for, where you might get traded, how much money you could potentially make in the future.
And where everybody else is around you.
Right.
I mean, Madej plays his position, for God's sake.
The top 4 players for the Milwaukee Brewers are all middle infielders.
Yes.
That's crazy. We were talking about this other day. today when they're doing, or when they plan on changing the breakout game to every team has their top prospects, or just this year in the game, who's all going to go? Because the top 4 are all at the same position. You can't send all 4 of those guys. That doesn't make any sense.
Correct. And things we missed coming up next, we'll be able to get to those guys for you. I believe they announced that earlier today, the breakout players. So we'll get you who that is. Plus, we'll also got to talk about Nolan Winter, that Badger game last night. Bill Simmons' crazy idea that had Charlie laughing earlier today. And what Pat McAfee did last night, that was pretty cool for a professional sport. That's coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Potawatomi Sportsbook, that's where you're going to want to be. Whether it's watching hoops, watching some baseball, season getting ready to get underway here. Maybe some World Baseball Classic, maybe some hockey. Whatever the case may be, 2,000 square foot center screen, 30 sporting events at one time. UFC fight nights, they show those as well. You can go check that out. Or you can go hang out at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, watch all those events, and order some food, some beverage, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, full menu, including all-day brunch, homemade pastries and desserts every day at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel, all kinds of different seating, including 2 levels. You can reserve your seat online right now by simply going to Potawatomi.com. There is a nominal fee, but it goes towards your food and beverage bill for that night. So you're going to spend that money anyhow. It makes all the sense in the world. Best in the Midwest is what I like to say. The Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. Check them out today. Potawatomi.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Here we go.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
Do not forget, Badger Marching Band going to be at the Admirals game coming up on Friday night, tomorrow night. Saturday, got a post-game concert coming up Saturday night. Go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com for more information on that. I want to start first with the Brewers game currently being played. Long Spring Trading Live coming up here at 5 o'clock with Tim Allen and Tommy Wirtz. Gary Mitchell led off with a home run, had a walk, ended up with a 3 RBI, 2-out double in this one. 2 for 3, 2 runs scored, 4 RBIs, a homer, a walk, and a strikeout for Garrett Mitchell. Hell yes, I say to Garrett Mitchell. Man, I'm telling you, if this dude can stay healthy, could be a huge difference in this lineup if he's playing every day with that bat.
It's going to be really exciting to see him hopefully stay out there for more than a month of baseball. If he can keep this type of progress up, this is what everybody's been waiting for with Garrett Mitchell, man.
And then there's the Jake Bauers effect with Tommy Wirtz out there.
Vinny Camper Spring Training Player of the Year
Jake
right now.
Bauers with his first home run of the spring. Jake Bauers 2 for 3, 2 runs scored, 2 RBIs on the day for Jake Bauers, including a strikeout. So a big game for him. Brock Wilken, who was just on this show, what was it, yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Tim and Tommy interviewed him. Third base prospect for the Brewers. He was playing first base today. 2 for 4, a run scored, an RBI, and a couple of strikeouts for Brock Wilken. Jefferson Cuero, a guy that they're hoping will be ready to replace William Contreras after this season, more than likely, because he has 1 year left on his deal, and we know how that goes. The Brewers trade guys with 1 year left on their deal. Jefferson Cuero, 2 for 4, with a run scored today as well. Cooper Pratt, who you just heard from there in the last segment, 1 for 2, 2 runs scored, 2 walks, and a strikeout for Cooper Pratt today. Frelick also had a couple of RBIs. He was 1 for 4 with a run scored. Pitching-wise, not so great. Robert Gasser, 2 2/3, 3 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Yuck. Craig Yoho, inning and a third, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 2 strikeouts for him. The other guy that y'all probably have heard of is Coleman Crow. 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 earned for Crow. I try not to get overly worked up about pitching just because you don't know what the heck is going on. Sometimes guys are just working on throwing certain pitches, aren't really throwing their full arsenal. They're really not scouting the other team per se. They're just trying to get their pitches across. So spring training results, I feel like for pitchers, a little bit more harder to diagnose whether it's good or if it's bad truly at the end of the day.
I think towards the end of the spring training, though, some of these guys that have been pitching in spring training, so like Robert Gasser hasn't really gotten his appearances yet. It makes sense for him to work on this. But like Craig Yoho's been out there a bunch. I want to see him just start being that guy that we were hoping to see last season. Yeah. You know, guys like Coleman Crow, that's a young player. That's Tim's guy he's been talking about that on Spring Training Live. that's a guy that you want to see go and start to produce more as they get deeper into the spring training so that they can prove that they can be a part of this group moving forward. Again, that's where it's a little disappointing. So I give a pass to Robert Gasser. The rest of these guys, you got to start figuring out eventually.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm looking to see here. Yeah, here we go. Adam Schefter, 9 minutes ago. Thanks for the talk. Text line, people texting in. A sad news for Packer Nation. Former longtime Green Bay Packers president Bob Harlan passed away this afternoon at the age of 89 per his family. It's one of the most important figures in Packers history. Harlan retired in 2008 as the winningest president in NFL history. He is still the only person in league history to hire two different GMs that won Super Bowls with different rosters, in 1996 with Ron Wolf and in 2010 with Ted Thompson. Bob Harlan was amazing. Over the course of my career, would literally come on anytime we'd call. Back in the day when we were doing the big show with Gary Ellerson and Leroy Butler, we'd call. Normally it'd be Gary. Would call over there, and Bob was like, yeah, sure, I'll come on. Yeah, no problem. No matter what was going on. Could have been the Favre fiasco, could have been Rodgers, could have been after he left and Murphy was in charge, still wanting to give his thoughts, talking about the struggles of getting that first renovation done and all of that. Like, just in such a nice man. Such a nice man. And as has been documented so many times about Bob Harlan, always picked up his phone. You didn't have to go through three people in order to talk to the president of the Green Bay Packers. You just pick up. You yell, scream, carry on, do what you're going to do. He'd listen to you, try and calm you down, and try and show you what they were working on and trying to do. I also give Bob Harlan a ton of credit for being a guy that came in and said, hands off, I'm going to give this whole operation to a football guy in Ron Wolf. And Ron Wolf was crazy enough to go trade away a first-round pick for a third-string quarterback who at that time, Jerry Glanville pretty much would have played the towel boy over Brett at that point because he wanted nothing to do with Brett Favre. And Bob Harlan, I think, swallowed hard and said, okay, Ron, I said I wasn't going to get in your way. That's what you want your big first move to be. Go ahead. Thank God there wasn't sports talk radio and the internet and all that crazy stuff that was going on because Packer fans, I'm telling you, we would have had full phone lines forever. They traded a one for a who? For a third-string quarterback that won't even play in Atlanta? Are you kidding me? Oh, it would have been a disaster. Like social media and everybody else would have wanted Ron Wolf fired immediately. They would have been calling for Bob Harlan to be fired. It would have been a complete disaster. But he put his faith in Ron Wolf and said, hey, you're going to do football operations. I'll be over here working on trying to get us a renovation and doing other stuff to keep the business side of things going. And yeah, always will be grateful for Bob Harlan, who again, according to reports from Adam Schefter, passed away today at the age of 89. One other note that I'd like to bring up, and nobody really has brought this up to my knowledge this entire time. I have not seen a campaign for this. So back in the day when I worked with Leroy, every year we'd get people on that were voters for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'd be like, why aren't you voting for him? Why isn't he in? What is going on? And we would just hammer and hammer and hammer. Eventually, he got in. Now, I don't know how much the radio show had to do with it or whatever else, but people on social media, local people started writing articles, and we were pushing that out and trying to get Leroy Butler in. Bob Harlan deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Man, all you got to do is take the Adam Schefter tweet, put it in front of the voters, and go, as contributors to the NFL, he should have already been in. It says right here, he's still the only person in league history to hire two different GMs that won Super Bowls with different rosters in 96 with Wolf and 2010. Harlan retired in 2008 as the winningest president in NFL history. How is that man not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Should be pretty easy. I mean, that's just two statistics of a huge career. Like, that's crazy.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's absolutely crazy. So, again, that is something that needs to be rectified and fixed and taken care of, and he should be in. And, again, the argument literally is just holding it up and going, read the tweet. That's it. Pete Doherty is the one that is in the room that had a lobby for Leroy. Once you get into that finalist room, then these guys got a lobby of why their guy should be in versus everybody else. So he'd probably be the guy lobbying for Bob Harlan. We can get to that point. I don't even know if you have to lobby when you get to the point of a contributor. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know.
Well, and I feel like the NFL out of some of these other leagues has done a really good job at honoring people, post-mortem recently or when they're at that point where you need to get somebody in. They've done a good job of making sure these people get in. This seems like a pretty easy decision in the next couple of years to make that happen.
Absolutely, no doubt. I just think that's something that has to happen at some point. So again, thoughts and prayers to the Harlan family. As according to Adam Schefter, Bob Harlan passes away today at the age of 89. Other news before we get out of here, some Badger news. Class of 2027 edge Isaac Miller has committed to Wisconsin, which is cool. That is a Waukesha Catholic Memorial guy. Right now, the Badgers, according to Jesse Temple, have 4 commits in the class, all from the state of Wisconsin, which is good because Wisconsin's not been a state that Luke Fickell has done much with since he's been here, Charlie.
No, it is not. Isaac Miller's 6'5", 250 as a high schooler. 80.
You're laughing. Why are you laughing, Charlie?
That's crazy. this dude's 17 years old, and he is that huge already. He's going to keep growing. That's a pretty big signing. It's going to be hard to keep these types of guys on. It says a hard commit on 24/7 Sports, but that can change.
Yeah, you can, but still a good sign going forward. Nolan Winter goes down last night. Don Wachillis was at the game, and he was tweeting pictures and videos on the X account at WI Sports Radio from the game. And then when Winter is down, everybody's like, well, there goes any type of chance a run in the tournament. John Rothstein says Wisconsin's Nolan Winter lower body is day-to-day per a school spokesman. Suffered the injury last night against Maryland. Must have Nolan Winter for the tournament.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I also just feel bad for him as a person. He's shown a lot of love for this Badgers program throughout his time earlier this season. He was crying because he was so frustrated with how a game went. Like, he loves this team and loves this game. That's really unfortunate.
Bill Simmons' idea that he put out there, the crazy idea, he says LeBron James in his final season should sign 1-week contracts with every team in the NBA to allow every team in the NBA to sell a LeBron James jersey with their team logo on it and make him play a home game for every team in the NBA in his final season. You like that?
I love it. That's awesome. Let's do it.
Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Spring training live next with Tim and Tommy.